first guest on stage, but allow me to welcome him first. His name is Colonel Ajay Lal. His designation, he's the founder of Forward Consulting, and the topic he is going to be discussing today is 4 cornerstones of inspirational leaderships. Leadership and executive coach, a TEDx speaker, an author, an international radio host with extensive transition and transformational leadership development expertise. He's a former chief business officer, colonel in the Indian Army, the veteran, a former senior military observer of United Nations. Ajay is recognized an expert in coaching, equipping, and empowering leaders to develop their optimal potential, drawing from his leadership experiences over the past 44 years. Ajay is a dynamic speaker and a seasoned global executive. He's also an ICF-accredited leadership and executive coach. He's a leadership coach with IMB Business School, Switzerland, for their high-performance leadership program, HPL, for experienced executives. He is also a certified coach and speaker with John Maxwell Team, US. Ajay has over 3,000 coaching hours and is one of the leading executive coaches in India and a keynote speaker. He operates with key focus on leadership, strategy, and coaching. He has coached C-level executives and has conducted leadership development programs for senior management at various corporations. He has also been conferenced the World HRD Congress 2019 Dr. Marshall Goldsmith Achievement in Coaching Award. He has also hosted the Leader Shift radio show on IBGR, which is the International Business Growth Radio Network broadcasting across 150 countries. Ajay has recently been presented with the prestigious Gold Award at the esteemed Future Skills Award ceremony, which was recognized by Economic Times HR and LinkedIn Learning. The recognition acknowledges his significant contribution as a transformational leadership coach and mentor. Over a 15-year corporate career, Ajay progressed to lead as Chief Business Officer and Head of International Business at NIIT Limited. He was responsible for driving profitable business and market share growth in international geographics. Ladies and gentlemen, if you please allow me to welcome on stage Mr. Colonel Ajay Lal.
Okay, thank you so much, young lady, for that introduction. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm absolutely delighted to be speaking on this wonderful platform hosted by the Leadership Federation. I decided to structure my session on the theme, 4 cornerstones of inspirational leadership, because I've derived these from my own personal experience and learning of leadership across the years. As the young lady mentioned, I've had 3 distinct career transitions. The first was in the military, where I served for 25 years in the Armored Corps on tanks and participated in many challenging and life-threatening experiences. So I'll just name a few. As part of the IPKF, that was the Indian Peacekeeping Force, when the Indian Army was deployed in Sri Lanka. There we were dealing with the LTTE, which is a rebel group which was fighting for an independent state. That experience battle-tested my leadership in dealing with volatile situations and in handling of setbacks. Thereafter, as a senior military observer with 2 consecutive United Nations missions in Cambodia. There we were engaged in conflict resolutions, negotiations with the Khmer Rouge, a communist group which was charged with genocide for having slaughtered nearly 25% of the population of Cambodia. That indeed was a very challenging experience, as I was also leading a team of officers from 33 different countries in a multicultural environment. Thereafter, I commanded my tank regiment to be prepared to lead them into battle. And that is actually the acid test of inspirational leadership. So in my career, everything was going fine, and I was at the pinnacle of my career until one day, the 11th of December, 1997. A day that remains etched in my memory, and a day that changed the course of my life. In a river crossing operation very close to the border forefront, I met with an accident on my tank and suffered a serious injury on my right leg. That was a dark and a devastating moment in my life. And that day in December led me to take one of the toughest decisions of my life, my farewell to arms. I transitioned then from the war room to the boardroom, from a career in the military to a career in the corporate with NIIT, a global talent development corporation where I served for the next 15 years, leading both domestic and international businesses. I largely applied military leadership principles, principles of war and warfare strategies to the marketplace to gain market share. I grew in the corporate sector and was the chief business officer who was leading the international business of NIIT, spanning 40 countries. And now, from the last decade, I'm in the third phase of my career, and I'm following my passion to coach, to equip, to empower leaders to optimize their potential and be the truest and the fullest expression of themselves as leaders. The lady mentioned, I've also delivered a TEDx talk, I've authored a book on fear, and I've been an international radio host where I hosted a program called Leadership, which is broadcasted across 150 nations. So that's a snapshot of my journey, and I continue to be work in progress. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do my best to distill my experience and learning over the last 4 decades of leadership into what I choose to call the 4 cornerstones of inspirational leadership. I believe these 4 cornerstones are passion, people, performance, and legacy. So let's briefly discuss each of these. The first, passion. Let me take an analogy from the military regarding passion. There is one unique difference between the corporate and the combat space. Combat leaders in the military lead troops into battle without any extraneous motivation. No material incentives, no performance bonuses, no stock options whatsoever. They lead by sheer
unadulterated, inspirational leadership, and by developing and leveraging the passion and the spirit of a soldier. I invite you to walk in the boots of a soldier just for a few minutes and sense the underlying passion and the spirit of a soldier. What do you think makes a soldier spring to his feet when he's at the point of death and sends him on that one last charge to capture the objective? From where comes that dogged resolve? The soldiers stand steadfast against the enemy rather than give away 1 inch of territory. And what generates that indomitable spirit that inspires soldiers to even make the supreme sacrifice and lay down their lives for the sake of the mission? This passion, this spirit, I believe, springs from the imprinting and tattooing of 3 undying and timeless tenets on the hearts and the minds of all soldiers. These very tenets are the foundation and the bedrock on which military laurels are won and accomplished. And I can best describe these 3 tenets with the acronym MVP. Mission, values, and pride. I've experienced and strongly believe that these 3 tenets are not only applicable to the military, but they translate powerfully into individuals, leaders, and organizations. So let's take a close look at each of these. The first, mission. Mission is why we exist. What's the purpose of our very existence? In the military, on commissioning as officers, the famous Chetwood motto has been immortalized and carved in stone and has been ingrained right from the onset of our military career. It's the credo of the Indian Army. And the first sentence reads, "The safety, honor, and welfare of your country comes first, always and every time. Everything else follows, everything else comes later." So the mission is critical in the military. And not only in the military, as individuals, leaders, and organizations, we need to have striking clarity on our mission and then be willing to stay in the fight despite the obstacles, the risks, the resistance, and the opposition. We need to be both relentlessly stubborn and agile. Stubborn to stick to the mission and not quitting, but agile during the process. If there's nothing that can make you quit, there is nothing that can make you fail. So a key question to ask yourself, how strong and clear is your mission? How strong is your why? Feel the zeal of your mission in your bones and in your spirit. Live it, breathe it, and imbibe the will and the faith to hold on to it on the inside, and it'll manifest on the outside. Second, values. Values are what is important to us. Values are principles and standards of behavior. Values become our default system. They influence us in our decision making, in our behaviors under stress, and in analyzing and solving challenges, particularly in the face of adversity. In the Indian Army, we have core values that are timeless. And these are integrity, loyalty, duty, respect, honor, courage, and selfless service. Now, these are not mere fancy words, nor are they these artifacts hanging on walls, nor are they just spoken values, but these values are infused in action, blood, sweat, and spirit of every soldier. An important question I would request you to reflect upon. How strong are your values? How strong are the values of your organization? What's important to you? And finally, pride. Pride is what inspires us. Pride is what energizes hearts and mobilizes minds. Pride is what moves us into victory first in the heart and the 16 inches between the mind and the heart. It is not pride that borders on arrogance, but it's pride that espouses respect and honor. In the military, pride in the regimental badge, pride in the battle honors and glorious traditions of the regiment, pride in the mission is a key battle-winning and defining factor. So I'll request you to consider this question. How strong is your pride for your organization? How strong is your pride in who you are, what you stand for, in your self-esteem and self-image? Because you can never outperform your self-image. So to wrap up this first cornerstones of passion, as leaders and organizations, if your mission is inspiring and clear, if your values are infused in your whole being, and if your pride is ingrained in everything that you do, you will be invincible and nothing can ever stop you. So let's go now to the second cornerstone of people. The one word I would focus on people, the one word is caring. Caring is about people. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Care is dealing with people with empathy, with compassion, with kindness. It is creating an atmosphere of safety, of protection, of comfort, of belonging. And it's generating a feeling within people that they are cared for, they are valued, their perspectives matter, and they're just not a statistical head count, but a heart count. Leaders make people feel seen. They make people feel heard. And they engage with people to find out their hurts, their heart, and their hopes. Another key aspect of caring is trust. Building and establishing trust within your people and teams. And what is trust? Simply put, it's the confidence born out of the character and the competence of a leader. Focusing on radical truth, radical transparency, and radical open-mindedness is essential. So what I shared with you is just the essence of care, trust, and bonding between people and teams. I can give you an extreme example from the military. Soldiers are often asked the question, what made you risk your life for your comrade? And the answer given is always simple, because we know they would have done exactly the same for us. This sacrificial spirit and sense of values sustains the mission. So do remember this one word for people: caring. Leaders first touch people's hearts, then they seek their hand. And that gets me to the third cornerstone, and that is performance. The one word for performance I'll focus on, one word: daring. But before I dive into this word, let me first share with you quickly some key principles related to performance from my experience in the military. And you all will agree with me that the military is one of the highest performing organizations. So as I share these principles, I'll request you to please draw out your own relevant analogies. The first principle: selection and maintenance of aim. Having striking clarity what you want to achieve. Your aim, your mission, your vision, goals and objectives. Define the end state and ensure that your strategies are directed to achieving it. The second, offensive action. No ground can ever be gained by defensive measures. So this principle is all about being proactive, to act, to attack, and to launch. Concentration of force and economy of effort is the next. Concentrate superior forces where? At the point of decision. The underlying principle here is not to fritter your budget and resources on things that don't matter. Flexibility is the next. No plan ever survives first contact with the enemy. That's a fact. So to build the ability and the capability and the agility to respond to changing and fluid situations. And the last is simplicity. Prepare clear, concise, uncomplicated strategy and plans which can be understood. And now circling back to the word, I'm trying to speed the best I can. Just a couple of minutes. Now circling back to the word I shared earlier, daring for performance. Daring is about accomplishing missions and achieving goals. When people feel cared for, which we spoke earlier, then they become daring. Then they are inspired to embrace challenges, to take on stretch goals, to take on bold, audacious, daring goals. And they are willing to take risks, to explore, to discover, and that too without the fear of failure, but with an attitude of relaxed efficiency. And now that gets me to the last cornerstone very briefly. And the last cornerstone is legacy. There is no success without a successor. And legacy lives in people, not in things. Someday people will summarize your life in one sentence. So it's just about wise to choose and pick that sentence now and work towards it. So it's important to first know the legacy you want to leave and then live your legacy. The legacy I decided to lead and live by were these 4 words. People first, mission always. And this has held me in good stead of my over 4 decades of leadership, both in the military and in the corporate. In closing, with the interplay of these 4 cornerstones, which ones? Passion, which is mission, values, and pride. That's passion. Second, people, one word, caring. Third, performance, one word, daring. And legacy. With the interplay of these 4 cornerstones, there is release of energy and inspiration. That is when people's potential is unleashed and mission, visions, and goals are accomplished. Leaders dream more than what others think as practical. They expect more than what others think as possible. And they care for people more than what others think as wise. That is when people and teams develop the faith and the ability to see the invisible, to believe the incredible, and that empowers them to achieve the impossible. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.